Cards are one of my favorite occupational therapy tools. You can use them for so many things, and they're really cheap. You can usually get 2 packs for $1 at the dollar store. They're also great for teletherapy because almost all families have at least one deck of cards. Even if it's not an entire deck of cards and it's just half a deck, you can still do a lot with it. To work on fine motor skills and bilateral coordination, have your student hold the deck of cards in their non-dominant hand. Use your dominant hand to grab the card. I like to have the children hold the cards face down, so now you have the added component of flipping it over. This works on forearm supination and pronation, which is great for cutting skills. One of my favorite things about the card manipulation activity packet is the progress tracking sheets. So on this progress tracking sheet, you can mark off exactly which sheet you used, what you were monitoring, how they did on each trial. I like to time my students, so I write down how long it took them for each trial. Sometimes I do 10 trials in one session, and sometimes I'll do 5 and then I'll finish it the following time. I also like to write down how many fumbles they have on each trial. I keep a tally. So to me, a fumble can be dropping a card or using 2 cards instead of 1 when they're trying to flip. Anything like that can count as a fumble. Another way to work on bilateral coordination skills is to split your deck into 2 piles. Have your child turn over 2 cards at once and then figure out where they go. You have to explain to your student that an ace counts as a 1, or you can remove the aces before you start. Not that easy, you can see. But that adds another level of difficulty to the task. To make the math pages easier, you might want to remove the picture cards from the deck. Picture cards can be confusing for some students. If you wanted, you can have the student go through and pull out the picture cards before you get started. To work on crossing midline, put the deck of cards on the same side as the child's non-preferred hand. Then they're going to use their preferred hand to grab 1 card at a time, turn it over, and then place it where it goes. Is it greater than 8 or less than 8? Another example for how to use these sheets besides just the traditional way is to cut your deck in half and line them up on the sides. Give your student directions orally. Tell them what card you're looking for, and they have to listen to the directions in order to place the proper card. So you may say, heart. They have to look through the rows of cards to find a heart. Here's one. To add another layer of difficulty, you can have them search for an exact card. You want a red 7. Now, they grab a red 7, but they have to put it in the right spot. So now it's in the heart category. Get me a black 5. Okay. The student has to visually scan up and down the rows to find the 5, then manipulate it out of the pile, and then put it on the right suit. So that's sorting in 3 different ways: by color, by suit, and by number. Now you notice that I happen to do this with only one hand. If you wanted to make it harder, you could tell the student to do it with their non-dominant hand, or you could have them reach for cards on the right side with their left hand and on the left side with their right hand. This works on crossing the midline. It's also great for children who need to work on their hand dominance. Working with cards is a great way to work on manipulation. When you can, have your student do the dealing and the shuffling. And this is really hard for kids, but it works on everything. I also always try to make sure that my students are holding their cards in a fan whenever we play a card game. I find that many of them have trouble with that. You'll notice that in order to do that, they have to separate the 2 sides of their hand and stabilize the cards with their thumb against the rest of their fingers. This isn't easy for a lot of children. if you have students that really struggle to hold their cards in a fan and they can't do it for some reason, and you want to make it easier for them, you can cut a small slice of a pool noodle, put a slice across the top, and stick the cards in it. I didn't have a pool noodle with me today, but I was able to do the same thing just using a little piece of a cardboard tube. Just put a slice in the middle and slide your cards in. And this gives the student something bigger to hold, so it's easier for them. And they can still visually track and scan to see all of their cards.